name's Niall Iain Macdonald. I'm from Stornoway on the Isle of Lewis, back in Scotland. Currently in Liberty Landing Marina in Jersey City, just across from New York, and I'm preparing to row back home to Stornoway across the North Atlantic Ocean, about 3,400 miles or so in my Ocean Rowing Boat Alliance Trust. The route I'm going to do is, well, I call it NY2SY, which stands for New York and Stornoway. So I'm rowing from west to east across the North Atlantic Ocean. Really taking a dogleg. The first 1,000 miles is basically due east, following about 40 degrees latitude, 40 degrees north latitude, and then at some point I'll have to start turning up towards the UK and even more northeast up towards the Western Isles. You're basically following the Gulf Stream, which then dissipates into the North Atlantic Drift, so you can try to use that as much as you can. Prevailing winds, westerlies, southwesterlies as well. With Eastern Ocean rowing boats you can't row into wind, you really need all the help you can get. I don't know why I chose the North Atlantic. I chose it first, and then I read an inspiring book called Daring the Sea, which is about the first people ever to row across an ocean, which very few people know about, in 1896. Harbo and Samuelson, who were two Scandinavian immigrants in New York, and they took basically an open dory and in 55 days rowed from New York to the Scilly Isles in 1896. They suffered about 8 capsizes. I think it was one of the worst summers on record in the North Atlantic. You know, none of the technology that I'm carrying today. Had to carry all their own food, do their own navigation by hand, using sextant, using the stars and all the kind of traditional skills, and all the Victorian kind of clothing they had as well, and they did it in 55 days, and that's a record that's stood for almost 100 years, I think. It's hard to prepare in 2 ways for rowing up to 12 hours a day. I mean, you don't row through the day. It's not like a 9 to 5 and then 5:30 you knock off and then you're off for the rest of the evening and the boat just drifts. You row, you sleep, you eat, you keep the boat going, and you do other things as well. You do that through the day and through the night. What I've learned from others is when the conditions are favourable and you're making good ground, you row and you row and you row until, you know, you can't row anymore. So physically you have to get yourself fit. It's not a kind of Herculean task. At the start I thought I'd have to get food science and sports science and all this kind of stuff, but you shouldn't forget that a lot of it's in your head as well. You know, you can be as fit as you want, but if you're mentally not prepared to do the rowing, these muscles don't mean anything at all. You know, it's have the basic level of fitness, and over the time you will get used to what you're doing, but it's really the mental challenge of knowing that that's it, that's your life for 3 months, and that you're on your own for 3 months. The isolation, it fills me with trepidation. I mean, the whole thing scares me. Whenever I talk about it, it's always with excitement, but underneath that is a base layer of complete fear, and it's never gone away from the first day. It's not a paralysing fear. I don't shake when I think about it, but there's an incredible awareness that what I'm going to do is dangerous, and I don't know what will happen out there. I could coast across and have no incidents whatsoever. I could also have, you know, a lot of challenging days when things go wrong, and you know, I have to kind of take it easy and get my way out of danger. So that fear, that awareness has always been there, and I hope it always stays, because I think it's a good thing to have. My support team is very important. Although I'll be on my own in the boat, I won't have a support boat or a chase boat running with me. I'm totally self-sufficient for food, for supplies, for spares, for emergency equipment, all that kind of stuff. It's me and this boat. But obviously you have to have a support team back in dry land to help me with the other aspects. I feel prepared. I think I've done the right preparation. I'm aware of my weaknesses. I'm also confident in the abilities that I do have. So all that combination hopefully will get me to the other side. I've done my research. A lot of my research has been speaking to people and listening to them. You know, what did they go through? How did they cope? And I've tried to glean as much information from them. But I will have my own adventure, and I will make my own mistakes, and you know, what happens to me will happen to me. So I spoke to Ellen MacArthur, who got in touch very kindly, and I spoke to her and kind of picked her brains, and she was great. She kind of identified very strongly with what I was doing. She admitted she'd made her own mistakes, and it was quite heartening to know that someone as experienced and as well known as her goes through much the same as anyone else will go through. But she was saying, take it easy, you know, get through that hour and realise that the next hour is probably going to be better. And you just have to keep going, and you have to dig deep. And I gave up once before in my life, and I'm not going back to that place. So. I'm doing this whole thing to raise funds and awareness for Scottish Association for Mental Health, or SAMH, kind of one of the bigger mental health charities in Scotland, who do a lot of work throughout the country. They have a lot of service users, as they might call it, people who are suffering or have suffered and need help. They can call into one of their offices. They also do a lot of kind of education around companies as well, you know, telling people, you know, what their employees may be going through. So it's really to raise £100,000 for them. Yeah, if anyone wants to donate money to help me get to £100,000, you can do that through Just Giving. I've got a justgiving.com page, which is NY2SY. So it's NY, the number 2SY. Or you can also text donate, which is on the website, which is ny2sy.co.uk. But all the information's kind of central there. So £1, £5, whatever, it all helps. Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I only ever plan to do this once at this stage anyway, so it'd be nice to document it. So we got a couple of GoPros we're going to be using, and I'll be using them maybe not every day, but as often as I can, and kind of documenting things as they happen. And we've got mounts in the fore cabin there, and there's also another one on the aft cabin, so I can kind of set them up. And using the Wi-Fi facility now you've got with the iPhone, you can actually set up shots and things like that. And I need kind of, yeah, you need kind of robust equipment when you're in such a challenging environment. So I think I've got one of the GoPro Heroes here, and I think we've got a GoPro Hero 3 that I've got inside, and we've been using them already just to document stuff. So as I said, I need stuff that I can kind of trust and has been tested and has got a good reputation, and GoPro seem to have that, so that's what we'll be using. So